Hey, Morning Stars, you know, for the past couple of weeks we've been talking about God's dream for our life. How to distinguish God's dream from our own personal dreams and how to discover individually what God's plan and purpose for our life is. And so let's kind of review just for a minute that God's dream for our life has three necessary components, all of which have to be present, right? A dream from God honors Him, blesses others, and then ultimately brings joy to us. We've talked about how to discover that by the fact that God uses our strengths, the way that He's created us at conception with these innate natural abilities and talents and skills, as well as then how He gifts us spiritually when we cross the line of faith and become a follower of Jesus Christ. How He uses those two together, the gifts of conception and then the gifts of our spiritual gifting at conversion to point us to His plan and purpose for our life. We've also seen last week that God might use things that we consider weaknesses. Maybe they're tragic events or bad decisions or addictions, just to name a few. He's going to use those bad things, those weaknesses, to meet other people who are going through very similar situations, to meet them where they are and give them a picture of hope and healing and wholeness. Today I'd like to take a minute and share something that I actually am not going to be covering in any of the weekend messages, which is the difference between prominence and significance. Pastor Rick Warren, the pastor at Saddleback Church, uses the imagery of his nose and his liver, and unfortunately my nose works as well or better than his does for this image. My nose is prominent. It's noticeable. It stands out. It's the first thing that will hit the wall if I'm walking around in the dark. Prominence has to do with being well known, conspicuous, perhaps even famous. On the other hand, my liver isn't prominent at all. You'd have to do some pretty extreme measures to even get a glimpse at my liver, none of which I could imagine being very welcome or pleasant for me. My liver is inside my body. You wouldn't be able to pick it out from a lineup of other livers, no matter how conspicuous or famous my liver might be. But while my liver isn't prominent, it certainly is significant, right? The liver performs many essential functions related to digestion, metabolism, immunity, and the storage of nutrients within the body. These functions make the liver a vital organ. And a vital organ is, hey, if something happens to it, then we will die, right? I mean, we're not going to continue to go if our liver, our heart, our vital organs, begin to die. Now, here's the deal, the question. What do you find yourself striving more for? Prominence or significance? Given the choice of being well-loved and beloved or making a marked contribution with your one another only life, which would you choose? Prominence is about personal dreams that center around ourselves, dreams about prosperity and power and position. Significance, on the other hand, may never make the front page in the newspaper. Significance may mean working behind the scenes, rarely being noticed by anyone, much less the media. Yet all the while, people's lives are being touched and changed when our focus is on significance. Now here's the deal. We can be both prominent and significant, but we'll always have to ultimately choose which is most important. You might have a role in your company or in some organization that, honestly is kind of like mine, the lead pastor of a church like Morning Star. And that's kind of a prominent position. And that's what you do, maybe. And it's not that you should stop doing that any more than I should stop being the lead pastor of this church. Rather, it's about reminding yourself that while, you might be prominent in terms of position, being prominent without being significant is a bad trade for you, for everyone around you. On the other hand, you might not have a very prominent role anywhere, but God reminds us that status according to the world standards isn't worth chasing. That we can be significant to God and others when we own who we are, when we stop trying to be someone else and use this one and only life God's given us to honor Him, to bless others, and find that true joy that God has in store for us. The Apostle Paul, friends, talks about this difference, the difference between prominence and significance, when he talks about the different gifts and parts of the body of Christ. In 1 Corinthians chapter 12, he writes, "The eye cannot say to the hand, 'I don't need you,' and the head cannot say to the feet, 'I don't need you.' On the contrary, those parts of the body that seem to be weaker are indispensable. And the parts of the body that we think less honorable, we actually treat with special honor. And the parts that are unpresentable are treated with special modesty, while our presentable parts need no special treatment. But God has put together the body, giving greater honor to the parts that lacked it, so that there should be no division in the bodies, but each part should have equal concern for each other. If one part suffers, every part suffers. If one part is honored, every part rejoices with it. Hey, Morning Star, remember that God wired you up for significance, to make a difference, a genuine contribution with your one and only life, no matter how prominent you might or might not be. So be the church this week. Be significant. And I'll see you in worship this weekend. God bless you.